Hello, 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 and welcome to the Core Dog Experience where I talk Ohio State Buckeyes, talking Buckeyes from the fans' point of view, from the fans' perspective. So if you're liking this segment, please hit the like button, and if you hear anything you want to comment on, please comment down below. Appreciate all the comments, all the feedback would be great. If you're feeling what you're hearing and you love Buckeye content and talk in general, please subscribe. Trying to build this thing up, trying to build it up, trying to build it up. So help me out on my journey and we get this thing going. With that said, let's just jump right into it. Ohio State, Maryland. That was a game. Good game. Good game. Told y'all last segment. Now I'm gonna be pumping up my previous segments because I need y'all to check it out, look at it. Because I said this was gonna be a tough game. I said fear the turtle, and it came down. It was a close game for a good portion of it. It was a close game. It was close. I knew going in it was going to be a tough game because Maryland, they have the type of offense that could give Ohio State problems. They have I felt that going in. That's why I thought this was going to be a tougher game, despite the fact that Maryland has not looked good. The previous couple weeks, they did not look good. So you knew they were going to throw the kitchen sink at Ohio State. Night game in Maryland. Nothing to lose. This is their Super Bowl. Anytime Ohio State shows up, it's always the other team's Super Bowl. And I knew it was just going to be a tough game. It was going to be a tough out. And the first drive, Ohio State got off to a great start. And I was like, all right, there you go. We can just keep this going. And you want to try to take their heart from them early. You want to take their heart and let them know you don't have any chance to win this game. But that did not happen. And after that first drive, I don't know what happened. Just sloppy play, penalties, sloppy play call. It just looked bad. There's no other way. You can't sugarcoat it. They look bad. And Ryan Day said he was going to have them ready to go the first drive. Maybe the first drive was too easy. I don't have the other way to explain that first time. Maybe the first drive it went too easy for them, and it's like, oh, they got shut out last week against Penn State. This is going to be a cakewalk. You know, Maryland had other ideas, and Ohio State helped with that with sloppy play. Sloppy play is one thing that'll keep other teams in ball games, give other teams an inkling of an idea that they have a chance to win the game. And that first half, as it progressed, as it went on, the play never really got better, and it was just sloppy all the way around from the play calling to the execution, um, especially offensively. It was bad. Defensively, we held our own, gave up the big plays, but we were keeping them out of the end zone, given how poorly the offense was playing, and given how good Maryland's offense is, I'm surprised our defense held up. To me, that's a good offense. And our defense held up for that first half. They gave up the big plays, but the first half, our defense, I think, kept us in the game. But folks, as you can imagine, they were not happy as the first half moved on, as it played out, and you could just see in the comments. I go back and forth between the game and the comments, and comments of people are posting, and it reflected that folks were not happy with how the first half was trending. It was not trending well during halftime, and I had, you get them palpitations like, no, not again. But that's how it was. So during halftime, that's how it was. People they were not happy with the performance. Another big thing that came out during the first half was Henderson. Again, go watch my last segment. I said sit him. I said if he's not 100%, sit Travion Henderson. And he was not 100%. It was obvious after the touchdown. He caught the pass, scored, beautiful run, Beautiful. Hey, showed that explosiveness, showed that speed, but during the celebration, I don't know when exactly. Maybe it was during the run, but you could see as he walked back over to the sideline, he was not comfortable. He was limp. He already had a limp. He had a limp during the maybe it was paired. Maybe a big offensive lineman jumping up on your shoulders. Not it's not the best thing when you're nursing an injury. But I don't know what it was. But Henderson, he was not healthy, and fans, I think they're being too hard on him. It's hard to play with an injury. When I get nicked up, just doing just I ain't talking athletically. Just when you just get nicked up around the house, plus I'm old, but when you just get nicked up, it's hard to move. It's hard to move about and do stuff. And this dude's out on the field playing at the highest level while he's not 100%. I don't even think he's 75%. And I think he's probably less than 70%. Cause if you can't run and without limping and showing pain, then you should not be playing. And I think people are being unreasonably hard on Trevion this year because he has not been healthy virtually the whole year, and he's trying to play through it. And if he is, then I don't know why the coaches. I put that on the coaching staff. You're sitting JSN out because he's not 100%. You don't want to. So why aren't you sitting Henderson out? I think Dallin, again, we'll get on to Dallin, but I think he showed he's more than capable of handling the running load. But Henderson's not healthy, and I don't think a lot of the fans are taking into account he's not healthy. So that was one of the running debates on the different social media the other day. Henderson's soft. He's this. He's that. He's not hitting the holes. He's lost it. He's regressed. That was the folks in the piling on. I call it the piling on Henderson camp. Those are folks that are just piling on Henderson. They pretty much been piling on him the whole season. I don't think they're taking into account he's been injured virtually the whole season. So you had that camp piling on him, and then you had the folks that realized, I think they, coming from where I'm coming from, he's hurt. He's trying to play injured. He's trying to play through it. He's trying to do what he can for the team and get out on the field and be productive for the team, but it's hard to do that if you're hurt. And again, if he's trying to get out there, kudos to him for trying to get out here. So that's why I say I lay it on the coaches. You gotta sit. You gotta sit the young man and let him get healthy to the point where he can run 10, 15 yards without coming up lame. Because after that touchdown, he limped back to the sideline. He was not healthy, and then they still tried to play him in the second quarter. He still played throughout the second quarter. I don't think Dallin didn't come in until after halftime. And then, then finally saw Trevion there in the walking boot, but he should not have played. I honestly felt he should not have played at all, basically at all. I was happy to see him suit up. I was happy for that touchdown. But as soon as you seen him walking over to the sideline and limping, I was like, oh, he shouldn't even have been out there. So again, I put that on the coaching staff to a degree. And maybe he told them they were good to go, and he did what he needed. He did. I'm hoping he did what he needed to do to show him that he could go. But running in practice and running in real game time, that's two different things. And the young man was not comfortable at all, and it showed as soon as he got to the sideline. But to our saving grace, our running game was. And I think it suffered because of that. The running game suffered because I don't know if that led to the sloppy play. The holes were getting over. Maryland was jacked up, and Henderson couldn't hit the holes the way he needed to hit the holes in that first half. So, halftime adjustment. Henderson can't go. Put him in the walking boot. We're gonna go with our Dallin Hayden. And they made this references several times throughout the broadcast. He was the only scholarship running back suited up and ready to go that second half. They didn't mention Chip, so I'm not sure. I'm assuming Chip was still out. He was not available. They didn't use Xavier, surprisingly, but they went Dallin Hayden, and he stepped up to the plate. 3 second half touchdowns, over 150 yards rushing in that second half. So I don't know what went on in the first half. I don't know what was said during halftime, but they got the running game going in that second half. And I will say this though. I will say this between the Hayden and Henderson comparison. Um, Hayden, from what I've witnessed this year, seems to run more. He's more of a north-south runner. He hits the holes. He hits the holes hard. Boom. And Henderson this season, he's been more east-west. I don't know if that's because of the injury. I don't know, but and folks have mentioned this, he's regressed from his freshman year, but I don't. I just think it's injuries. Injuries to me is what's holding Henderson back, and maybe he's not as comfortable hitting up the hole. But he does a little east west more 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 to my liking. He does it too often. Let me put it that way. He does it too often instead of getting up in the hole. That's the one difference I do notice with Hayden. And when Mayan's in there, they're north. Well, Mayan, he's built for north south. Even though Mayan tries, he think he out. He think he a home run hitter, but Mayan, you're not a home run hitter. You gotta go north and south, buddy. North and south. But Hayden, he goes north and south. That's what I like about him. You see him, he's decisive. Boom, he gets up into the hole. So that's what I do like about Dallin Hayden. And then again, just our running back room in general. He's he's left. So if I don't think Henderson's gonna play next week, and we'll get on to the Michigan stuff. But I just don't see Henderson playing and being effective next week. I'm hoping they help Mayan out this week in preparation for next week. Then you have the Mayan Williams, Dallin Hayden duo to go next week against Michigan. Let Henderson rest up and get 100% healthy, because a lot of people are falling off, falling off in Henderson. But I still think when 100% healthy, given the home break capability, home run potential that he has, if he's healthy, he's still our best back. People forget what he did his freshman year. I mean, he was borderline. He was on the periphery, but people were mentioning him as a potential Heisman person. Of course, that went out the window real quick, but he was in those conversations during the off season. Henderson, Jackson, and Stroud, and and just think about that. Henderson, Jackson, and Stroud, Smith and Jigba. That's why it's just easier to say Jackson, but Smith and Jigba, Henderson and Stroud. They're mentioned the three Heisman candidates for Ohio State. The prolific offense they're going to have, and for all intents and purposes, the offense has still been prolific without getting major contributions from Henderson and getting literally nothing for Smith and Jigba. So again, the leading offensive team in the country, scoring wise, because Tennessee's fallen. Well, they had that outburst against Missouri, but they were just trying to pad stuff. But but in the top two scoring offenses in the country, when you lose your two of your top three people, that just shows how good they have been. With all the struggles, with all the stuff, Northwestern game, with all the struggles, they're still top two in scoring offense. Just keep that in mind when you guys, when folks want to question Ohio State and what they're doing this year. Still top two in scoring, minus two of their top three offensive threats coming into the season. So, but Henderson, let the man rest. Let him rest. Get him 100% healthy, or at least 80 to 90% healthy, because I think he's running on 60 to 70% capacity right now. If you can't run 15 yards without pulling up lane, you shouldn't be out there playing. We got to Dallin. He's shown he can carry the load. He can carry the load. So again, just the depth of the running back room at Ohio State. Then so game plays on second half. Finally some life from the team. My man Lathan Ransom came up big. Wasn't JTT like, we had that series leading up to the block punt. He had him a good series, that defensive series. He had the stop on the tight end screen. He blew that up. A couple plays later, block punt. A couple plays later after that, Dallin runs it in. We took the lead. I ain't gonna say we never looked back, but we didn't give up the lead. We held the lead the rest of the game. We held the lead the rest of the game following that block punt. Maryland made an instrument, but we seemed to get a little bit of life into us following that. But Maryland, they did not go away. They didn't go away. You expect that from a team that has nothing to lose. They did not go away to their credit. To their credit, they played tough. They kept balling. They kept fighting. And you just got to take your hats off to people when they give you a tough time. Yeah, we were 25-point favorites. I never thought we were going to win by that much, quite honestly, because Maryland's a good offensive team. The one They're a good offensive team. They got the receiving corps, probably second best to Ohio State's, and they got a good, more than capable quarterback. So, and they fought. They played hard and they fought, and they clawed their way back into the game. I mean, some people, I mean, Talua, I'll just call him T. T. I don't do good with names, so I call him T. So T had him a good game, and I figured he would. And I said, look at my last segment, plug number, was that 2 or 3? Yeah, look at my last segment. I said he's a good quarterback. He can keep plays open. He can extend plays with his legs, and he did that. He did that because he had to do it. We may not have the sacks to show for it, but he was scrambling around a lot back there. He was. We were getting in the backfield, and he had to do a lot of scrambling. I mean, the fourth and goal pass, the fourth and goal, he kept the play live, and scored the touchdown. That was all him keeping his legs going, using his legs to keep the play alive. He had him a good game. Because he needed to have a good game. He don't have a good game, they have absolutely no chance at all of winning. So he had the ball out, and he did. He played a good game. I figured he would, but not to the point where some people thought he outplayed Stroud. He had a good game. I don't think, I stalemate at the best, but I don't think he outplayed him. He did what he needed to do for his team to win. Stroud didn't have to do that because in the second half, we got the running game going. The running game got going in the second half. People were talking about the running game. Well, the running game showed up in the second half. We had a healthy back there. The holes are opening up. Stroud did not have to do a lot in this game when it was said and done. We got the running game going. The defense gave up the big plays. They gave up big plays. Let's just be honest. They gave up big plays, but that's the Knowles style of defense. And I think he would say, we'll give up the big plays, but one thing you didn't see was Maryland dominating the line of scrimmage like some folks wanted to claim Maryland was doing. They didn't. They had big plays. And I'll give them that. They had some big plays, but it was not that they were doing control. They had big plays to keep the ball going, to keep the ball moving. And a lot of that was your boy scrambling around and keeping plays open and making the throws. He's a good quarterback. I said he was a good quarterback. Did he outplay Stroud? I don't see. He did what he needed to do. Stroud did what he needed to do. They both did what they needed to do for their teams. Stroud didn't have to do as much through the air because our running game was clicking in the second half. Talua, he had to do some stuff through the air because Maryland, they weren't going to be able to they couldn't run the ball consistently against us. They had couple big plays, and they got some speedy backs. They always have had speedy backs, but for the game, I think they were under 100 yards rushing, and they averaged less than 3 yards per carry, which bodes well for next week. We know Michigan and Maryland's running are two different animals, but they held Maryland under 3 yards per carry. So they had to throw the ball, and that's the one thing they are good at is throwing the ball. So just the stats in general, they had a good offensive game plan. They had a little over 400 yards against us, and that's because a lot of those yards they got off the big plays We couldn't sustain drives in the first half, so they were able to get some yardage built up against our defense. So stat line to me, I thought our defense did good. They made the plays that they needed to down the stretch, and it's a three facet game: offense, defense, special teams. And when isn't working, then you rely on some of your other stuff. Our special teams came through. Of course, they gave up the block field goal or extra point, which I know Ryan Day was kicking himself over how that whole sequence played out. But we had the block punt, and then our defense at the end of the game, our defense got the pressure they need. They weren't going to go. I know they weren't going to go 80, 90 yards in 30 something seconds, but the fact we closed it out the way we did, hey, we were getting the pressure on them all night. Those few times, Harrison got to him. T couldn't get away from him. So our defense did what they needed to do to close the show. They closed the show. In Maryland, I thought they were going to be tough, and I'm probably going to hope I don't have to eat humble pie with this one, but I thought going into this game, Maryland was going to be what's going to challenge us the most in terms of our defense, because their offense, the strength of their offense, which is their passing game, their receivers, which again is second only to Ohio State's receiving group. Their offense, their passing game, their quarterback, the type of quarterback that gives you fits. He's a dual threat quarterback who's mobile, can keep plays alive. With that passing game, with those receivers, I feel I might regret it. Hopefully not, but I felt this was going to be the hardest offensive challenge for Ohio State this year. Yeah, I said it. I'm going to stick by it. Maryland has the type of offense that could give our defense issues, and they did because of the passing game. Our one weakness has been our corners in the passing game to us in general, but specifically our corners. They're young, in and out of the lineup. They're young. Their receivers, a veteran group, good, explosive, fast, a good quarterback. I knew that's their strength against our weakness. To me, it feels like that's our hardest offensive challenge this season, even going into next week. I might regret it. I'm acknowledging that. But I still think Maryland it's going to provide the hardest offensive challenge to our defense this year. Jim Knowles was brought in to beat Michigan. Our defense is geared to beat Michigan and to stop the running game, because that's what Michigan did to us last year. No team this year has been able to consistently run the ball against our defense. Maryland, that's not their strength. Their strength is throwing the ball. What's our weakness? Defending the pass. And that showed in the game. Maryland was able to throw the ball against us. Can J.J. McCarthy do what Taluya did? Can J.J. McCarthy do what T did? He's a capable quarterback. I don't think he's as good throwing as T is. You've seen some of the plays he had against Illinois. He missed people. I mean, he's not as accurate because he doesn't have to be. They relied on their running game this season for a reason. I mean, Blake's very good running back. So they relied heavily on the running game. J.J. McCarthy, while he's good, he's mobile. I don't believe him or those receivers pose a passing threat that Maryland did. But we'll get into that much later. And again, hope I'm not eating humble pie and McCarthy goes off for 300 yards passing, but I just don't think it's a different style of offense. Our defense is more geared to stop Michigan's style of offense than it is Maryland's, at least this year. Maryland style of offense. So we will see how that plays out. Again, hats off to Maryland. They played Michigan tough. Again, they were driving for either the tie or the win before Michigan was able to close that game out. So Maryland, they played the two top teams in their division. They played us tough. They played Michigan tough, 7-point loss. And they played us tough. They played Ohio State tough. But you know what? We still got the double-digit win. I don't care how you get it. We got the double-digit win. We got the W. 11-0 on to next week. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle. But it's one of those days that it wasn't all that bad to struggle. Oh, everybody struggled. Everybody struggled in the top four. Everyone across the board, everyone struggled in the top 10, pretty much. Georgia was on the road at Kentucky. This is the Kentucky team that just lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to Vanderbilt. Georgia 16-6. They couldn't get no offense going. They couldn't get in. They held their hat on their defense. 16-6. Georgia struggled. It happens. Teams struggle. You're not going to blow everybody out. We already know. Michigan struggled. They should have lost. I'm sorry, they should have lost. I'm not one of these people who just say that because it's Michigan. No, they should have lost that game. Offensive pass interference call. Yeah, that was on that 4th and 3. That was a offensive pass interference. Pick play as clear as day. No call. And then, of course, they go on to kick the field goal. But Michigan should have lost that game. And I'm not one of the I want Michigan to be good. No, I want Michigan to move every week. I could care less if Michigan's good at the end of the season. I could care less if we ruin their season. I could care less if they 0-10 heading into the game or 0-11. It hasn't hurt us in the past. Well, it's good for Michigan to be good. That's boosts our resume. I could care. It hasn't hurt our resume in the past. We made playoffs and gotten the bowls and everything else without Michigan being good. Why should it be any different moving forward? That's just me. But they should have lost that game. Go back and look at that 4th and 3 play. The dude clearly runs the thing and straight up. I don't even think sometimes they try to hide it and pretend they running the route. He ain't even try to pretend. He just went on straight block the dude. 4th and 3. First down. Michigan goes kicks a game-winning field goal last second of the game. They win 19-17. So everyone struggles. Getting back to my point. Everyone struggles. And everyone's saying, well, we going to lose to Michigan if we play like that. Well, hell, Michigan play like they played, they going to lose to us. I mean, that go both ways. They go both ways. If Michigan look like they do last week against Illinois, we going to win. We going to win. And I think our ceiling's higher. Our ceiling's higher. And I think Michigan may almost have to play a perfect game to beat us. I just do. But so Michigan struggled. TCU, they've been doing what they've been doing all year. Last second field goal, TCU won, 1-point win. So again, everyone struggled. Don't even get me started on Tennessee. Don't get me started on Tennessee. 63-38. Top 5 team. Lost to an unranked team. Yes, unranked team. 63-38. And it wasn't even that close. 63-38. So, yeah. Top 5 struggled. Ohio State's struggled at the end of the day. Double-digit win. And we won our game by the same amount of points as the other top 3 teams. The other top 4 teams. So, again, don't have to be dominant. But on that day, a 12-point win a 13-point win looking very good when everybody else is just getting by or getting blown out. Let's keep on going down the list. LSU and Alabama, they should be damn near embarrassed who they played. In late November, y'all playing some FCS schools. They ought to get knocked down the peg just for that. It's late November, and look who they playing. Get out of here with that. Get out of here. It's pitiful. Pitiful. Play another conference game like everyone else does. That's just pitiful. SC, they got in a shootout with UCLA. They could have lost. They needed they needed an interception on UCLA's final drive because those defenses wasn't stopping nobody. I mean, it's fun to watch. That was a good game, but wasn't much defense till SC got that interception. That was a good game, fun game to watch, but 3-point win. I know it's UCLA and they rank, but still, SC they struggled. Clemson looked good. Man, play nobody, and then Penn State looked good. Which brings me with Tennessee losing, that was that anchor. Tennessee had that anchor for the SEC because the new rankings are going to be coming out for Week 4. Top 4 unchanged. They all won. They all had their struggles in winning. You know, they said it wasn't pretty for Ohio State, but we won. We move on. Wasn't pretty. Won. Move on. Wasn't pretty last time we went up to Maryland. We won. Move on. Win and move on. And like I said, we're still the only team to win by double digits. So at the end of the day, we're looking pretty good. We looking pretty good. But Tennessee, that was that sort of that anchor for the SEC. That was sort of holding everybody else back. Cause what are you gonna do with Tennessee, especially if LSU goes on and wins? Because that's ESPN. That's they always trying to see how the SEC can get all these teams into the playoffs. But I was riding on Tennessee winning out. That ain't happening. It's Tennessee gone. But it's just interesting to see now where they're actually going to rank Tennessee, because I don't see LSU beating Georgia, so they're gone in the championship game. So who's going to be that for? Because if the Michigan Ohio State game is close now, if that's just a one-score game, why not Big Ten get 2 teams in? Well, who are you going to move in front if that's a close game and LSU loses? SC? SC would, I mean, that'd be the most logical choice is USC if they're able to win out. They got Notre Dame coming up. That'll be a notch on their belt. And then if they can win the Pac-12 championship game, I can see a scenario where SC sneaks in as the Pac-12. But would it be sneaking at that point? I can see SC getting in as the 4th team. Well, that'll be a good debate between SC and the Michigan-Ohio State loser. Especially if Georgia wins out. Assuming Georgia wins out, assuming TCU beats Kansas State, because I'm not sure that's going to happen. Kansas State. I've been calling for TCU's downfall, but they haven't done it yet. Well, Kansas State might get them. I don't know if Adrian Martinez is back yet, but Kansas State might get them. But it's going to be interesting. But I just want to see where they're going to pick Tennessee. 2-loss team, because of they're a 2-loss team now. And their 2 losses are terrible. I'm sorry. They lost to Georgia, the number 1 team, but they were dominated. And then they just got shellacked by an unranked team. And I think obviously they're going to fall below Alabama. And I feel they should fall below Penn State, because I've seen projections now where they still got Tennessee in front of Penn State. Look at the resumes now of those 2 teams. And I know in the long run, we make a difference because they're down at the bottom half of the rankings. But just the SEC bias, I just want to see if it's going to kick in for this, because there's no way Tennessee should be ranked in front of Penn State. And yes, every now and then I'm gonna rep for the Big Ten, because I think Penn State should be in front of Tennessee. Their only losses: Ohio State, the number 2 team, and Michigan, the number 3 team. And those games were competitive heading into the second half. Ohio State, I think, was all the way through the 4th quarter. So they played their only 2 losses: Ohio State, Michigan, the number 2, number 3 team. Tennessee got dominated by Georgia, wasn't close, and they got destroyed by an unranked team. They should not be in front of Penn State. That's all I got to say about that. The Heisman candidates, I still think Stroud did not do anything to hurt himself. Like I previously mentioned in my last segment, that's plug number 4. My last segment, I said they keep trying to pump up people to knock Stroud off his as the favorite, and it's gone on all season. Soon as Bryce Young went down and Stroud got elevated, Bryce Young got injured, and they elevated. They had no choice but to elevate C.J. Stroud at the time. But ever since they elevated him up there, they've been waiting to anoint somebody else as the favorite. At first, it was Michael Penix. I was tracking this. It was Michael Penix, the Washington quarterback, and then he promptly, as soon as they started mentioning him, he went out and promptly got beat by UCLA. Anyway, he went out and they got beat as soon as they started mentioning him. Next up, Hendon Hooker. He went out and did his thing. He was the hype man until after they beat Alabama, deservedly so. He had a great game, but he stunk it up against Georgia. He was the front runner. He stunk it up, looked bad against Georgia. Then he didn't even look good. He looked bad. Period. He lost. So again, they had to go back to Stroud. Well, who can we try to hype up now? Who can we try to hype up now? So after Hooker went down, then it was boy out of Oregon. Well, Bo Nickel, dude out of Oregon. They started hyping him up. Very weak. They started hyping him up. He loses. Wherever they try to hype up, they lose. They tried to bring Bryce Young back. I'm sorry, he looked terrible against LSU. He had that one good play. But he was bad against LSU. He was less than 50% completion. He looked bad. So they know they can't. Bryce Young's good, but he ain't this year's Heisman. Stop talking about Bryce Young. Of course, Blake Corum, they haven't really mentioned it because he's not a quarterback, but he should be mentioned. But always saying if you mention Blake Corum, why not Chase Brown? Their numbers are very similar, But back to the quarterback. So now who's the latest person? Now it's Caleb Williams, SC. So we'll see how that plays out, see how it plays, especially after the big game he had against UCLA. But it's always someone else. You're always looking for the next person. So again, if Stroud, he just has to beat Michigan. He beats Michigan. I don't see how they can take it away from C.J. Stroud and the Heisman. It's going to be a good game next week. Blake Corum got injured. I hate to see people get injured, regardless of where they play. I hate seeing people get in. I hate seeing the Hooker injury. That looked bad. I'm glad he was able to walk off, but those non-contact injuries are terrible. They just are. And his injury, the Tennessee quarterback's injury, looked bad. I hope he's all right. And Blake Corum, another virtually almost a non-contact injury. I hate seeing injuries, period, regardless of who and where they play. One thing I will say, though, is when he got injured, Michigan struggled. They're already without Donovan Edwards. So welcome to our world. Welcome to our world. So I ain't going to cry over that. I'm sad he got injured, but I ain't going to lose no sleep over it. If he don't play, he don't play, because we've been doing that all season. So I hope he can play. But if he can't, we've been doing it all year. Differences between Ohio State and Michigan. Corum went out. Edwards. They struggled. They just did. They struggled against Illinois. And so part of that's Illinois' defense. They got a good defense, but they struggled. No Maya Williams, no Henderson went out. We flourished. Donald came in and we didn't miss a beat. Matter of fact, a lot of y'all, like I've already mentioned, said Hayden's better than Henderson anyway. So we didn't miss a beat at the running back position. So it's going to be interesting to see if Blake can play. Next week we'll know a little bit more in a couple days, hopefully, and we'll see how that plays out. So again, more on that, because it's officially that week. We can talk about it more now, more openly. Maryland's tough game, got by them, out the way. Now it's officially Michigan week. And we can talk about that and delve into that a little bit more. We'll wait till after the rankings come out and see where folks are slotted. But it's gonna be interesting. Could be a good build up. So build up to that game, to the game, most important game since 2006, the Troy Smith game, 1 versus 2. Ooh, boom! It's a lot on the line. It's gonna be exciting. So again, if you're feeling this segment, hit the like button. If you want to comment on anything that was mentioned here, please comment below. Could it be Henderson, the game coming up, Hayden, Stroud, Heisman, Tennessee, Penn State, just anything? Please hit the comment button. Trying to build this thing out. Again, if you're feeling what you're hearing, you like Buckeye talk in general, from the fans' point of view, the grassroots, bringing it to you, please subscribe. And until next time, OHIO, go Bucks.